KCCN 1420 AM, your UH Rainbow Sports connection in Honolulu.
Sit back. It's time for a radioactive, interactive hour of talk radio. Facts, trivia, health tips, fun, all found during this hour of Tooth Talk. This live call-in show with your host, Dr. Russell Masunaga, takes you through the mysteries and fascinating world of dentistry. Wondering about lasers, implants, whitening, or enhancing your best possible smile? You'll find the answers during this hour of Tooth Talk. The number is 296-1420 or star 1420 on your cell phone.
Okay, and good morning, Hawaii. I'm Dr. Masunaga. This is Tooth Talk, and thanks for joining us on this beautiful September 21st. We are live this Thursday. Yeah, I played a tape the last couple of go-arounds on Tooth Talk because I was off in San Francisco, actually, at a convention where I was speaking about dental lasers to a whole bunch of dentists. Have you ever worked at a convention? Have you ever stood around and worked in an actual convention where you stood there from like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 talking to a bunch of different people about things? That's hard work. I was so exhausted. I said, get me back to my operatories, man. I need to do some dentistry. That's really hard work. But it reminds me of about 7 years ago, when I actually did one of my very first health fairs ever. And ironically, it was at La Pietra, and it was for the Women's Health Fair in the month of September, because every September is Women's Health Month here in Hawaii. And the Commission on the Status of Women's Health in Hawaii throws a great variety of events every year focused on different aspects of women's lives, whether it's health or social needs, that help to improve the quality of women's lives in particular. I guess you can call them gender specific, but really whenever you help people in life, you're really helping everybody. And so in support of that, here on Tooth Talk today, we're going to be talking with some very special guests. I'm very honored and pleased to have them in studio. We have Celeste Hallstrom is a resident at Matlock Hale, a transitional program for ex-offenders getting ready to re-enter the community. And also Kat Brady is a coordinator with Community Alliance on Prisons. Because this month in Hawaii, we're talking about women's health and women's issues for women in prison. And people forget that they are still mothers and daughters and sisters, and they are part of our social fabric. And so today, during Tooth Talk, a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about those issues. We'll also be talking about some other dental things. I know a lot of people tune into Tooth Talk for dental information. Interestingly enough, if you might have heard about gum disease and heart disease, gum disease and strokes, and we've been talking about that a lot on Tooth Talk. Well, a new study came out from the University of Washington that's being published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that says actually they're not finding a clear link between periodontal disease and the risk of heart disease. And, I, like everybody else in the medical dental community, we jumped right on the bandwagon when all the studies were coming out to say, well, a clean mouth means a clean heart. And so that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense that your mouth is part of your body, and how you take care of your mouth is how you take care of the rest of your body is a reflection of that. So we jumped on that, but this new study that has come out is shedding some doubts on that. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on this hour. Also, in the news, I thought this was interesting. Florida cracking down on illegal practice of medicine and dentistry. These stories always surprise me because sometimes they're right in our backyard. They're right in downtown Honolulu. They're in New York. They're in Los Angeles. And you find that there's a bunch of guys who learn enough about dentistry on the internet or watching TV or something or figure they can do it. They set up shop in these basically small communities where people don't speak English or people don't normally use regular facilities and standard facilities. They set up shop as doctors and as dentists. So Florida's cracking down on illegal dentistry. So I thought I'd read that story to you and give you some hints on how, if you're wondering whether or not your doctor has the credentials they're supposed to, maybe the 5 or 6 questions you can ask them to make sure that they are. Also some experimental local anesthesias. We'll talk about that if we absolutely have nothing else to talk about. But I think we have plenty to talk about during this coming hour of Tooth Talk. Well, before we go for the first break, I want to make a special mahalo and aloha to the Alzheimer's Association of Hawaii, the Aloha chapter. Just this past Monday, I got off the plane from this thing in California, and the very next morning we had to go to the Kaka'ako room at Ward Warehouse, where we facilitated the Hawaii Dental Association. That's the organization that represents professional dentists. It's not something you can belong to. And no, it's not an insurance company. It's the Hawaii Dental Association. All your doctors belong to this organization. Facilitated the delivery of over $8,000 worth of electric Sonicare toothbrushes to caregivers of those who have to live with Alzheimer's disease. I mean, it's hard enough as you're getting older to take care of yourself. When you get to the point of where you actually need somebody else's help to take care of you, Optiva Corporation, the makers of Sonicare's toothbrushes, in partnership with the Hawaii Dental Association, devised a program now to deliver electronic toothbrushes to the caregivers so that they can, in fact, take better care of the people whose lives they're entrusted with. And it was a very moving event, and there were over 100 people in attendance. You might not have seen about it in the paper, or you might not have heard about it or anything like that, but that's because not all community service is a photo op. You know, I mean, sometimes you just got to get out and do a good thing. But I'd like to do a very special thanks to Janet Bender, who is the executive director of the American Alzheimer's Association, here in Hawaii, the Aloha chapter, and also to the Hawaii Dental Association's executive director, Lauren Liebling. Without his generosity and of hours putting into the project, it never would have gotten off the ground. And also, of course, the Sonicare toothbrushes. And if you don't have a Sonicare toothbrush out there, you should look into it maybe as a special gift, and especially if you are having a hard time taking care of somebody's teeth, because it really does help clean people's teeth without having to get in there and physically take the amount of time that a manual toothbrush uses. A electronic toothbrush can do it much faster. Hey, we're going to go away for a first quick break, but when we come back, we will start focusing on women's health in prisons with my very special guest, Kat Brady with the Community Alliance in Prisons, and also a very special guest, Celeste Hallstrom, who's a resident now in a transitional program. We're going to talk about that road to prison, what happens, and the road out of it as well. Stay tuned, listen to these important messages. I'll be back after this.
You're listening to Dr. Masunaga and Tooth Talk.
If you're in your 20s, you think you're too healthy. By the time you're in your 30s, you're too busy. And if you're in your 40s or older, you're afraid it's too late. What are your excuses for not going to the dentist? At Ohana Dental Center, our friendly and professional staff are ready to help. Whether it concerns treatment, insurance, or just answering questions, Dr. Russell Masunaga is a UCLA-trained dentist who provides you with reliable and scientifically proven care.
I'm Dr. Russell Masunaga. Microabrasion, laser, cosmetic, and implant dentistry are part of a modern dental experience. Patient comfort, understanding, and safety are key elements to a successful dental appointment.
Whether it's whitening your smile, microabrasion, or laser dentistry, Ohana Dental Center is there to help you overcome your obstacles to great dental care. That's Ohana Dental Center and the office of Dr. Russell Masunaga at 848-8880, centrally located in Honolulu, 848-8880.
Is getting your employees to participate in your company's 401k plan a little like pulling teeth? Then you should think about the Future Horizons 401k plan from Pacific Century Trust, a division of Bank of Hawaii. Our 401k plan comes with something other plans don't. A human being, someone to help educate your employees about how investing in a 401k plan can help them to reach their retirement goals. At Pacific Century Trust, we know that the better your employees understand the plan, the more they'll want to participate. And more employees participating in your retirement plan may mean less turnover. See details on our webpage. Go to www.boh.com and click on Investing. The Future Horizons 401k plan from Pacific Century Trust, a division of Bank of Hawaii. For more information, call 538-4400. That's 538-4400.
Aloha, this is Elisa Cheney of Continuum Biomedical. Continuum Biomedical is an international manufacturer and support organization for medical and dental lasers around the world for over 20 years. At Continuum, we believe that advanced forward-thinking technologies are of great benefit to all patients. We have developed what we believe to be the finest dental laser for dental procedures. The Delight Dental Laser by Continuum is an erbium YAG laser capable of easy and sensation-free dental procedures. This safe and effective technology has been embraced by dentists around the world. Continuum is pleased to announce that Dr. Russell Masunaga has received the first Continuum Delight hard tissue dental laser in Hawaii. We look forward to supporting Dr. Masunaga and all dentists that acquire this advanced dental laser technology.
For more information about laser dentistry, call the office of Dr. Russell Masunaga, 848-8880. That's 848-8880.
Hi, I'm Bobby Curran, inviting you to join Robert Kekaula, Don Robs, and me this Saturday for University of Hawaii Warrior Football. We'll be live from the Sun Bowl in El Paso as the Warriors do battle with the high-scoring offense of the UTEP Miners. Hawaii will try to continue its unblemished road record under June Jones. This Saturday, it's Warrior Football on Hawaii's sports leader, KCCN, 1420 AM.
Hawaiian Heritage on Hawaiian Radio, 1420 AM KCCN.
The ToothTalk phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 296-1420 with your questions for the doctor. Now back to your host, Dr. Russell Masunaga.
Okay, we're back. Once again, this is Tooth Talk, and thanks for hanging out this hour of Tooth Talk. I know there's so many other interesting things on the radio, and so thank you for sharing this time with us, because I think we have important things to say. For instance, what we'll be talking about next is something that you don't hear a lot about. I mean, I'll just say it. It's about women's issues in prison. And I think I said it best before when I said you forget that these people are sisters and daughters and mothers, and they are part of our social fabric before they're going into prison and after they're coming into prison. And we need to pay attention to them so that they don't get themselves caught into a vicious cycle, and that we ourselves and as a community can have a little bit more understanding about their experiences. So joining me to talk about these things today during Women's Health Month, which is September, is Cap Brady is with the Community Alliance on Prisons and is a coordinator. So, and also Celeste Hallstrom is a resident at Matlock Holly. So, thank you both, Kat.
Good morning, Dr. Masunaga.
And Celeste, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Everybody just calls me Doc, by the way, if you stumble over the last name.
Doc.
So, Kat Brady. Why don't you give us an overview of not only of the focus of this particular month, but of the women in prison in general?
Well, first, we're very pleased that the Commission on the Status of Women has not forgotten our sisters in prison. Nationally, the ratio of women in prison to the general population runs about 6%. In Hawaii, our population, women's population, is 11% of the whole entire population of our prisons is women. So almost twice the national average.
So not that we have 10% of our women are in prison, but of the people in prison, 10% are 11%, I think you said earlier,
yes,
are women, which is twice the national average.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And interesting to note that in 1972, there was one woman in prison. In 1982, there were 43 women in prison. In 92, we had a 281% increase when we had 164 women in prison in 92. In 96, it jumped to 249 women, a 52% increase. And in 2000, we now have more than 500 women in prison, a 100% increase in 4 years.
Wow.
And you might ask, why did that happen? In 1996, they implemented the mandatory minimum law. And that means that...
What does that mean?
Well, it means that someone who is sentenced for ICE, crystal methamphetamine, automatically gets 5 years.
Okay, so this is the big drug laws, drug war laws.
Yes.
That sort of the 3 strikes you're out, no matter what the 3 things were, and suddenly you're in for a minimum amount of time.
Yes.
Or certain kinds of drugs, certain kinds of substances would put you away for a minimum amount of time. So
yes,
you specifically can because as you give me those statistics, and once again, you look at the numbers. You say there's 1 to 200 to 300 to 500. In some people's mind, they might be thinking, well, that's not a lot of people. I mean, I know for some of the statistics, when I first saw them, I said, well, I kind of thought there were more people than that. But what's alarming is the rate.
Yes.
That's what you're looking at is, I mean, if we saw this in dentistry or medicine, if we saw a disease spreading this fast, if this was malaria, if this was a flu, or if this was a mad cow disease sort of virus, we would be extremely alarmed that we are having 500 lives affected where there was just one a mere 20 years ago. So talk a little bit more about the...
Well, and then who are the women incarcerated in prison? Most are women of color. 40% are Hawaiian or part Hawaiian. Most are between the ages of 21 and 39. They're incarcerated for drug or drug-related offenses like property crime. They're serving an average length of 2 years, 2 months. And most of the women have no misconducts while they're in there in the last 6 months. So, I mean, it's a nonviolent population, and we're incarcerating people who are sick. Drug abuse is a public health problem, not a criminal justice problem. So we're locking people up who are drug addicts and giving them no treatment. Currently, the women's prison has 15 treatment beds for a population about 250, with about in excess of 90% of the women needing treatment.
Wow.
So it's an indictment.
Well, to help us paint the picture for those of us who have no real contact outside of these media-type opportunities to understand the issues, we have here is Celeste Hallstrom, who has very graciously decided to join us here at KCC and to talk about her voyage, her trip, where it started and where it's been. Celeste, welcome to Tooth Talk, and anytime you want, whenever you're ready, you can maybe talk about how did it start for you.
Okay, thank you. I've figured the best way to talk about my experiences is where I've been, where I'm at now, and where I want to go. So I'll give you a brief history of how it led. I was born into a middle-class family, and neither one of my parents are addicts or alcoholics. And so when I got into high school, it was like I was such an introvert growing up and stuff that when I got into high school, I figured the best way to be a part of would be to get into the drug scene with those people because, well, actually after I started doing drugs, it made me feel more comfortable with myself. So I can honestly say that it started with the self-esteem. You know, I didn't feel too good about myself, and for me to get into relationships with other people and focus on them and do everything for them and, you know, rescue, save, people please is, you know, like codependency. And for me to do all that, I wasn't focusing on myself.
So this started as early as, you're saying maybe high school or perhaps even younger than that? I was 14
when I picked up a joint, marijuana, which led to pills, acid, or whatever. When I graduated when I was 16 and a half as a junior in high school. And so that tells you I wasn't a stupid person, you know. But,
now, were you here in Hawaii?
Yes, I graduated from Lailahua High School, in 1974. And then when I graduated, I moved out with my boyfriend, and these relationships, like I said, I was always focusing on the other person, and the drugs just escalated, and I found my drug of choice, which was heroin. And with heroin, it's a physical withdrawal, so you don't want to quit. You know, you just keep using it so you're not sick.
So you're 16 years old and you're using heroin?
I was 17.
17 at the time?
I first picked up a needle and used heroin. So after that, I figured the best way to get out of the drugs, because I always knew something was wrong. You know, you figure something's not quite right. So I got married to an Air Force guy, and I did the geographical thing. You know, you move away from the drug scene. You move away from, you know, people and the drugs and stuff, but it doesn't really help. But I did stay married for 10 years. I had 2 children. But eventually that broke down. I came back to Hawaii, and again, I started with the drugs, but I figured if I didn't pick up the heroin, it'd be okay. So I was doing cocaine, you know, and that's when I first started getting into programs. And I did the Castle Hospital thing about 6 times, you know, 30 days, this and that. Finally.
So you're now in your mid-20s?
No, I'm
late 20s.
43. I just turned 43. This is.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I mean, this is after your divorce or after you've left and you come back to Hawaii. Now you're in your 20s or...
I'm in my late 20s.
You're in your late 20s, okay.
Okay. So I get back into the cocaine and, you know, do that trip for a while. Eventually, each relapse gets worse. And I kept trying with programs, but I didn't want to stay in too long. I didn't want to work on myself. And I think that's where it starts, with your thinking, with, you know, getting all the feelings and the emotions out, and to stop blaming and just focusing on myself. So eventually, I relapsed again, and I went downtown, and that's when the prostitution and the thefts and all that started coming in. And like I said, the relapses get worse, you know. And I was arrested in 95 for the first time. I mean, for a felony. I was arrested for misdemeanors, but I finally did the big one. And I went into a state state drug program. Did I mention the name? No, the Hawaii Drug Court program. And that's where I really started focusing on myself and getting into the programming, so-called, and working on myself. I did stay in that program for 17 months. I did start to get a grasp of what recovery and all that was about. But sad to say, I did relapse after that, and I went back downtown doing the heroin, the cocaine, and this was the one of the worst time, this last relapse. It lasted a 1.5 year run. I left my children who were in their last years of high school with my mother. And I think for children, when they're older like that and they understand, it's harder for them to, get rid of resentments and forgive, huh? So this last time I picked up another felony, and they said 3 strikes, you're out. Out of a 5-year term, the parole board gave me 2.5 years. I went into prison for the first time, incarcerated. I say incarcerated. And I think this was the first time I felt such humiliation and shame and guilt. And I do have to say for myself, it was an experience also for learning and growing, because it was the first time, like I said, I was incarcerated, but it was also the very first time I thought about, I wasn't just hurting myself. I was hurting my family, And I always thought, with drug addiction, I'm just self-destructing. It's all me, and, it's not you, so don't worry about it, But it was the first time I got to sit back, think, have some clean time, realize that what track I wanted to go was back on recovery. So this is where I am. I did get a 6-month reduction because I excelled and I accomplished a lot, not just with, the classes that I took. They have surface kind of programs inside prison, but, at least for me, like I said, I had programs before, so it was a chance for me to get back on track. But after a while, I figured, this isn't just going to cut it, staying stagnant in jail. I have to progress. So I applied for a reduction on my minimum term, and they saw my accomplishments, and they gave me a 6-month reduction on my minimum, which allowed me, because you have to have just so little time or whatever, to be able to transfer to the work furlough program I'm in now, TJ Mahoney's at Mount Akali. And the place I'm at now, I had to go looking for a job, seek employment. And coincidentally, the first job I applied for, my employer knew nothing about recovery. But I tell you, I had a 2-hour interview with him, and he was so understanding, and he was willing to give me a chance. Now, not many people out there, employers or society, they understand about, recovery or, addiction, and they just totally label, people who've been incarcerated as bad. No, I don't want to give them a chance. They've done this, that, or the other, So in that respect, I credit my employer for giving me the chance. And as far as the program I'm living in, it's a structured program. And for me, I have no problems following rules or regulations or whatever, because I tell you what, it's taught me a lot of responsibility. And with our counselors, and especially the director of our program, Lorraine Robinson, who's always given me the time. And with us addicts, I tell you, we need time. And if we have a problem, no matter how menial it may be, if somebody's there to care about you and talk to you and willing to listen, it makes a big difference for my support system. So I credit Lorraine Robinson and all the rest of the staff at TJ Mahoney's for giving me the time and the caring and the structure to restructure my life back out in the community.
So Celeste, you've just been released in June of this past year.
June 19th, I was released.
I'm just floored. I don't think there's nothing more that needs to be said right now. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Celeste Hallstrom, a very incredible person, I think, and I think just wonderful to see. So we'll be back after this.
You're listening to Dr. Masunaga and Tooth Talk.
If you're in your 20s, you think you're too healthy. By the time you're in your 30s, you're too busy. And if you're in your 40s or older, you're afraid it's too late. What are your excuses for not going to the dentist? At Ohana Dental Center, our friendly and professional staff are ready to help. Whether it concerns treatment, insurance, or just answering questions, Dr. Russell Masunaga is a UCLA-trained dentist who provides you with reliable and scientifically proven care.
I'm Dr. Russell Masunaga. Microabrasion, laser, cosmetic, and implant dentistry are part of a modern dental experience. Patient comfort, understanding, and safety are key elements to a successful dental appointment.
Whether it's whitening your smile, microabrasion, or laser dentistry, Ohana Dental Center is there to help you overcome your obstacles to great dental care. That's Ohana Dental Center and the office of Dr. Russell Masunaga at 848-8880, centrally located in Honolulu, 848-8880.
This message is brought to you by Dr. Russell Masunaga.
Does the sound of the dental drill set your teeth on edge? Escaping the sound of the dental drill doesn't have to mean avoiding the dentist. Called one of the most important breakthroughs in dentistry. KCP Micro-Air Abrasion Dental Technology is now available using the power of wind and sand. It means fillings without the noise, heat, vibrations, and pain associated with the drill. In fact, many procedures can be done with no shots at all.
I thought it was just air drying my tooth. But when I asked him when he would start using the KCP, he said he'd already finished.
I'm Dr. Russell Masunaga, a practicing dentist and host of ToothTalk. The KCP microabrasion system uses a high-pressure particle spray to remove decay, old fillings, and deep stains in a precise and safe way.
For more information about KCP microabrasion, call the offices of Dr. Russell Masunaga at 848-8880. That's 848-8880.
This is Dr. Russell Masunaga. Hey, next time you go surfing, on the net that is, don't forget me. You can reach me at ToothTalk at lava.net. That's TOOTHTLK, all little letters, at lava.net. That's LavaNet. Go with the flow.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Chin, a urologic specialist at Straub. Join me this week for Men's Health Hawaii. We'll be talking about prostate problems, kidney disease, and erectile dysfunction. Give us a call with your questions at 296-1420. Men's Health Hawaii, covering all things affecting men's lives.
That's Men's Health Hawaii, Saturdays 3 to 4 p.m. and Wednesdays 9 to 10 a.m. on KCCN 1420 a.m., Hawaii's radio magazine.
KCCN 1420 AM, your UH Rainbow Sports connection in Honolulu.
When you're smiling,
The ToothTalk phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 296-1420 with your questions for the doctor. Now back to your host, Dr. Russell Masunaga.
Well, if you're just joining us for this very special hour of Tooth Talk, we're focusing on women's health. And I, with my good friends at the Commission for the Status of Women's Health, have every September trying to do our part to get you all up to speed and on the same page about what's happening in the community and in your lives. And if you have questions or comments about what we're talking about today, 296-1420 is the phone number, or star or pound, I guess, 1420 on your cell phone, and that's always a free call. If you have the privilege of joining us for the last quarter hour, we were talking with Celeste Hallstrom, who has been on the road to prison, has been in prison, and is now on the road to recovery and out, and it's a very touching story. And also with us is Cap Brady, who is a Community Alliance on Prisons, as a coordinator. Kat, can you comment on Celeste's story that she just told us, and how unusual is that? How common is that?
Well, first of all, I think Celeste is incredibly brave to bare her soul.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it, and I think that's what I find so incredible about the women in the Matlock Holly and in the prison program. Celeste has 2 children. Like 60% of the women in Hawaii's prisons, they are moms. Celeste had the benefit of having a mother who could take care of her kids. Lots of women here don't have that advantage, and their kids go into foster care. So the burden on the state is not only to incarcerate the mom, but then the state is also taking care of the kids. And we're really working to get a program that would actually track the kids of incarcerated parents, because they're at very high risk, especially girls with moms in prison. So I think that was really great that she raised that issue.
One of the questions I had for Celeste, and I think this is a good time for me to ask it, is when she talked about doing those interventions in her life, going into the medical centers and the rehab programs on her. It sounds like, on her own, that she wasn't being court ordered to it. Who in your life at that time was supporting you with that and was stepping in and really trying to, get your head straight and say,
my mother.
It was your mother at the time.
My mother, yes. And she's been very supportive throughout, whether, incarcerated or through programs, because she believes in me. She has faith in me. She knows I wanted to help myself.
And that's the key, having at least one person who can support you, walk you through it. But I think also what she said about the relapses, that is built into the disease of substance abuse. There are relapses, that's part of it. And when people go into remission for cancer and then relapse, people don't say, what's wrong with you? You're relapsing. But if you're a substance abuser and you relapse, society is not very forgiving. And they're saying, what's wrong with you? You want to do drugs. And the statistics have shown that women who use drugs, they use it to self-medicate from some really bad situations. A lot of women in prison have gone through domestic violence, sexual violence, emotional, physical, terrible lives that they're trying to cope with. Many of them have children. So the drugs I guess what it does is it helps the woman escape. So what we need to do is deal with the substance abuse first and then deal with the underlying issues that lead women to substance abuse. And Celeste hit the nail on the head with self-esteem.
Yeah.
That is the key to just about every woman I've spoken to.
I think, and that struck me as well. We think, I speak now for all people, I suppose, that, you need to have some sort of traumatic event in your life, some sort of terrible, tragic event, and that's going to start. But from the story that you told, it was not necessarily like that. It has to do with the issues that affect anorexics and bulimia and issues of self-esteem and other sorts of substance abuse, whether it's drug abuse and what struck me was that, hey, it could be a very subtle issue with some perfectly quote-unquote normal-looking kid going to a middle-class school, getting great grades, being top in the class, and suddenly something is pushing them over the edge. And I don't know if there's relationships between that and teenage violence and stuff that we see in the news and stuff, but certainly the signs can be very, very subtle. And to follow up on my question about who in your life was helping you later on, you had your own kids, of course, at that point your mother was trying to help you. And not that your mom doesn't love you enough, but I think what I was thinking at the time was, but you really need more than that. You need professional help as well.
Yes,
I've seen therapists, through my recovery programs. I've been to therapists. I've been through, the AA-NA programs, having a sponsor, having a really good support system. And still, if you have that one little piece missing, where you're not taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself first before everybody else around you, as in my case, that's a relapse issue for me. I'll, like Kat was saying, medicate, use drugs as a coping mechanism for problems instead of solving them on my own.
Kat, what kind of programs are now in place, or perhaps in development as well, but what kind of programs are now in place for women who are in prison, people who have sisters or mothers or daughters in prisons, and say, hey, you know what? You didn't tell me that this was available to you. Get your butt in there and, start taking advantage of these things.
Well, as Celeste said, prison worked for her because it actually gave her sort of a timeout where she could figure out what was going on and sort of decide what kind of help she needed. Currently, there are 15 treatment beds in the women's prison. But the department has this wonderful dynamo named Marion Suji, who's the Deputy Director for Corrections, who has made her life's mission to help women who are incarcerated.
And we'll be speaking with Ms. Suji next week as we continue with our series on women's health.
And the department has now decided that since the numbers and the statistics show that women are not violent generally, that treatment is really what's necessary. They have decided to turn the women's facility into a therapeutic community, which is a treatment center. So they're going to start, the target date is November 1st, to have one entire cottage, 74 beds, be totally for treatment. Not just substance abuse treatment, but every kind, anger management, relationship issues, all the issues that Celeste has mentioned. So that is wonderful, 5 times the number of beds that we now have. And that takes commitment by the department and a dynamo like Marion to make it happen. I sit on the community advisory board of the women's prison, and Marion has really reached out to the community. There's a broad section of women from all different walks of life on that board, and she's really reached out to us to say, how can the community help us create a better program so we can reduce recidivism and treatment of all the issues that women have, and women's issues are very different than men's issues.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the success rate. You know, we hear about programs and physiological drug programs and social programs and stuff, and we always wonder about what the relapse rate is. And can you talk about that? Do you have numbers to support the efforts?
Well, I guess what's kind of interesting is that the prison system now is set up mostly on a male model. So all the programs they're skewed toward men. But women have different issues. And a good example is I asked Ted Sakai how guards move between the facilities. Do they choose they want to work in the women's prison? And he said, well, no, actually, I just was over at the women's prison, and there was a sergeant on watch, and I asked him, oh, you're from Halava. How do you like working here? And he said, I don't know. He said, you ask the guys in Halava, get out, line up. They do. The women say, why? Because we like to know.
That's right.
Yeah. We're different, and our issues are very different. Sometimes in a greater portion of the
And
male...
you just get a blank stare back from the guard. Because that's the guy thing, the blank stare. Huh? What do you mean, why? It's 6 o'clock, that's why. You know?
Exactly.
We like background. We like full information.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to lighten the moment up here. So you have let's talk about gender-specific programs. Because I think, there's so many the trite phrases like women's issues are different from men's issues, Yes. We have a men's show here at KCCN, which is great. And they talk about erectile dysfunction, prostate cancer, things like that. And so be more specific when you talk about women's programs. What kind of programs specifically do we see that's working well to prevent people from making the same mistakes, or not even mistakes, but just giving them the support that they need to succeed and to move on?
Yeah, well, a lot of the women in prison, as I said, are moms, and they were moms at a very young age, so they don't have the education to actually come out and get a job that pays a living wage. So that's one thing that could happen. We need life skills training. But first you do have to deal with the substance abuse so you can get under to all the other issues. And relationship issues, most of the women... or let me say, a lot of the women in prison actually are there for crimes that were committed by their partners, and maybe they were part of that. Mm-hmm. And the men, in many cases, got shorter sentences than the women. And the women, maybe they didn't choose to do drugs, but they are.
Now, why would that be? I mean, why would because of the bed the capacity of the prison systems, and so they just need to give the men a shorter sentence? Or I mean, why would that, if you're caught together and you're going in for the same crime, why would somebody get?
That's kind of a national.
That's a male versus a female.
Yeah, that's kind of a national anomaly. And actually, a woman was just released from a federal prison for, I think, making a phone call for her boyfriend, who was actually the drug dealer. He got out 5 years before her. She was just released. Amy Pofall is her name. And it's just, she's been writing a lot and appearing in different places about that, because it is sort of an anomaly. And all I can say is that the system is really based on a male model. And when you look at why women are in prison, as Marion says, most of the women don't even need to be in prison. They should be in community-based programming. But there's only Matlock Holly, 36 beds. That's it. There's no other transitional program for women. There's not many community-based programs. The substance abuse treatment programs outside are for community people, and many of the people who run them are not trained to deal with the offender population. So that's something that we're working on, expanding the curriculum in the colleges.
If you're just joining us, this is Tooth Talk. I'm Dr. Masunaga. Once again, expanding my horizons and expanding your horizons at the same time. We we don't want to always limit what it is we can and cannot do just by definitions. And so just because this is a show on dentistry, it's really about a show on health. And we'll be taking your phone calls at 296-1420 or star 1420. In studio with me is Celeste Hallstrom, a resident at Matlock Holly, a transitional program for ex-offenders getting ready to re-enter, or as Celeste has actually done, is re-enter the community successfully. And Kat Brady is with the Community Alliance on Prisons. Now, we have a phone call. Ladies, ready? Jake, you're on your cell phone. Hi, Jake.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was...
Ooh, radio. Okay.
I was listening to Celeste, and I really appreciate what she was sharing.
Oh, thank you.
It's not easy to be opening up your heart and life to everybody in the world. And I know it's difficult, especially since you're a mom. And I think you to be congratulated, and it's wonderful you're getting support. Kat, I believe that I think women are discriminated against, and that's why the unfair sentencing.
Yes.
It has to be a gender inequity.
That's very true.
And I guess maybe the lawyers don't fight so hard. Maybe the judges are more difficult on them because they think, oh, double standard, shame on you, you shouldn't have got caught for doing something illegal. Men, we understand they do illegal stuff. Women, you're not allowed to do that.
Maybe.
It's a double standard.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask Celeste a specific question. I guess I've always wondered, and then with her openness and honesty, I feel I could ask her.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as a person being addicted, it's a dependency, I realize, that's physiological, psychological, it's emotional. There's a lot of things involved. We, generally speaking, don't we normally see very small recovery rates for people in general? Because there's always that temptation to revert, and whenever the pressure gets so great, you go back to what you already know, which is, an out. I look at AA, and the program works because people realize that I do it one day at a time, and I do it with the help of a lot of people. And if I can do it one more day at a time, then I can take another step. Is that the way it works, you think? Where do you feel you are now? You sound very happy about where you're at right now. And do you see that the future looks, really good for you to stay this way and maybe reconcile with your children and move along the way you'd like to?
Okay, like I was saying earlier, and I believe Kat has said so also, if you have a good support system and you've also worked on your issues that underlie this addiction, then you have a good chance of staying on the path to recovery. And as far as my children, my daughter, she's 18. She's a very good support for me also now. She's gone through the AA thing and all that with me and always tells me to take one step, one day at a time and all that. But my son, I think it'll take him a while. He's in the Navy now, and it's been a year since he's talked to me, and I believe he needs the time, and that's just something I have to accept. And, yeah, I hope one day we can get back together, but like I said, I have to work on myself some more, and I have to stay on this path by, it's a constant working and struggle.
Well, women are more forgiving anyway, so I would believe that your daughter, they are.
Here we
They're
go
less
again.
violent, they're more forgiving. My best friends are women.
No, I'll tell you what, my son was more close to me than my daughter was, before I went to prison.
Maybe that's why he's more hurt.
Maybe he felt more betrayed.
I believe so, yeah.
But he'll come around, I'm sure, especially if you are such a loving person for him, and it'll all work out. I did want to ask you about when you say you do it a little bit at a time and you're getting better with yourself, resolving the underlying problem, like you said, because you can't treat the symptom, you got to treat the disease, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Are you a lot more aware of your needs? Do you take care of yourself better? Are you thinking of yourself first? It's like I heard June Jones say that before you can contribute to a team, you got to develop yourself as an individual.
Exactly. And every day, like I said, for me with my codependency, I have to constantly, it's the thinking disease, you know? You have to keep thinking about everything that you do, you know?
You mean you can't just stop thinking? You got to work on that.
No. Well, you can have your meditation time, I think.
Hey, Jake, thank you for your call. We do have some other callers. I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak with Kat and Celeste.
Aloha, Jake.
So thank you for your call, Jake, and good luck to you as you continue on your life and your struggles and your path. Let's go to Lynn. Lynn is calling. Oh, radio
Hello.
again, Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn. Will you have a question or comment about what we're talking about today?
Yeah, I just wanted Sally to know that we're at TJ's, we're in Women in Recovery listening to her, and she's doing a great job. And we're so proud of her.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my nickname, Sally.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, how are things going over there today?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
It sounds like a place of healing.
Yes, it is.
Super.
And we're all doing pretty good.
Hey, thanks.
It's a beautiful place.
Thanks.
Hang on.
Thanks for
Sally?
calling, Lynn. Thanks for calling, Lynn.
Sally?
I gotta go away for a quick break. Okay. We're going away. This is Tooth Talk, and you're listening to the road of recovery kind of thing stuff now. I'm Dr. Masunaga. We'll be back after these important messages.
You're listening to Dr. Masunaga and Tooth Talk.
If you're in your 20s, you think you're too healthy. By the time you're in your 30s, you're too busy. And if you're in your 40s or older, you're afraid it's too late. What are your excuses for not going to the dentist? At Ohana Dental Center, our friendly and professional staff are ready to help. Whether it concerns treatment, insurance, or just answering questions, Dr. Russell Masunaga is a UCLA-trained dentist who provides you with reliable and scientifically proven care.
I'm Dr. Russell Masunaga. Microabrasion, laser, cosmetic, and implant dentistry are part of a modern dental experience. Patient comfort, understanding, and safety are key elements to a successful dental appointment.
Whether it's whitening your smile, microabrasion, or laser dentistry, Ohana Dental Center is there to help you overcome your obstacles to great dental care. That's Ohana Dental Center and the office of Dr. Russell Masunaga at 848-8880, centrally located in Honolulu, 848-8880.
Is getting your employees to participate in your company's 401k plan a little like pulling teeth? Then you should think about the Future Horizons 401k plan from Pacific Century Trust, a division of Bank of Hawaii. Our 401k plan comes with something other plans don't. A human being. Someone to help educate your employees about how investing in a 401k plan can help them to reach their retirement goals. At Pacific Century Trust, we know that the better your employees understand the plan, the more they'll want to participate. And more employees participating in your retirement plan may mean less turnover. See details on our webpage. Go to www.boh.com and click on Investing. The Future Horizons 401k plan from Pacific Century Trust, a division of Bank of Hawaii. For more information, call 538-4400. That's 538-4400.
Aloha, this is Elisa Cheney of Continuum Biomedical. Continuum Biomedical is an international manufacturer and support organization for medical and dental lasers around the world for over 20 years. At Continuum, we believe that advanced forward-thinking technologies are of great benefit to all patients. We have developed what we believe to be the finest dental laser for dental procedures. The Delight Dental Laser by Continuum is an erbium YAG laser capable of easy and sensation-free dental procedures. This safe and effective technology has been embraced by dentists around the world. Continuum is pleased to announce that Dr. Russell Masunaga has received the first Continuum Delight hard tissue dental laser in Hawaii. We look forward to supporting Dr. Masunaga and all dentists that acquire this advanced dental laser technology.
For more information about laser dentistry, call the office of Dr. Russell Masunaga, 848-8880. That's 848-8880.
Aloha, this is Kanoa Leahy inviting you to tune in as KCCN 1420 AM brings you continued live coverage of the Rainbow Wahine Volleyball 2000 campaign. This weekend, the nationally ranked Wahine play 2 matches against another ranked opponent, Pepperdine, in what might be their toughest test to date. Both teams are undefeated. Something's got to give. Matches are Friday and Saturday. Tune in at 6:45 both nights for the pregame show. It's the Wahine hosting the Waves live right here on the home of UH Sports, 1420 AM. KCCN.
Hawaiian Heritage on Hawaiian Radio. 1420 AM KCCN.
Blue moon.
Open wide. You're listening to Tooth Talk with Dr. Russell Masunaga.
Yeah, open your minds up wide, because today we're talking about issues in health that, as we were talking, we're kind of gossiping here between the break, and we're saying, no, these are things that you're not going to be able to get the opportunity to hear about, and listening to it on the radio is an easier way than picking up a book and trying to research it by yourself, listening to other people's experiences. We did get some phone calls during the break. People want to know more information. Where can they get more information? Where can they get help themselves? And so during this last bit of Tooth Talk, we'll be talking about what's going on in the community as an outreach, what's going on in the system, to know that if you have loved ones that are headed in this path and stuff, that there might be hope for them still. There's a place for them to as Celeste has said, to sort of recharge herself, to center on herself. So without further ado, Kat Brady once again is here with the Community Alliance on Prisons. Kat, why don't you give my listeners now a big overview again, and be specific with the phone numbers about different kind of programs.
Okay. Well, I guess, after outlining the problem, I think we should go to what can we actually do. As I mentioned, the department is creating a therapeutic community in the women's prison, and we're very grateful for that. We know that will definitely lower the recidivism of women. Also, creating gender-specific programming is really important, not only in the prison, but in community-based programs. Currently, there are very few, one transitional house for women. And as I mentioned before, many community-based substance abuse treatment programs are not really dealing with the offender population. So we need to expand them, and we need to have a place for women to go that's safe, clean, and sober. When they transition out from prison, they need a place to decompress. So like Celeste says, it's really wonderful to have a place where you're with other women who some had very similar experiences, can lift each other up. And as we know, the rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we're really going for. So when you implement gender-specific programming in the community in the prison, I think that will definitely see a reduction in the rates of recidivism. Also, there are alternative things, diversion programs that could happen. Celeste mentioned drug court. That's one program that's very active in Hawaii, needs to be expanded. Currently, it's our only intermediate sanction. Right now, prison is the most expensive sanction you could have. So we're saying if somebody has a drug problem, we need to get that person treatment. It's less expensive than actually incarcerating someone, and also it preserves somebody from being damaged by the criminal justice system. And statistics have shown that people come out damaged.
Well, I understand that the Salvation Army has a family treatment center.
Yes, wonderful program. That's a wonderful program. And they are now actually looking at dealing with offender issues as well.
And it's a resident treatment center for...
Yes, they have a women's program, Women's Way. They have another program that's on Waukanaka Street going toward the tunnel. Yeah. And, it's substance abuse treatment really has to be very specific to what the substance you're abusing is. And I think like a 30-day program, it's not going to cut it if you're addicted to crystal methamphetamine. So it has to really be very specific to whatever your problem is. The treatment has to match the problem rather than just 30 days. And another issue that we've been working with is insurance, because basically insurance, 30 days or 28 days of treatment and then you're out. And for most addicts, that definitely does not work.
A lot of people might be wondering who they can call or what kind of thing. And this is once again where, dentistry comes full circle, because a lot of people don't realize that the dental profession is obligated by law as well as ethics and duty to help people in need, whether it's a child who's being neglected because mother is doing crystal meth, or we see children who are 16, 14 years old coming in with totally destroyed teeth from ice. We have an obligation to at least have in our system an opportunity for them to reach out and help. And so I do encourage people to talk to you can speak with your doctors, you can speak with your teachers, you can speak with your dentists. If you feel that, I'm having a hard time with my daughter, can you please, is there something you can do? We have the phone numbers. We have the phone numbers for the Salvation Army and for treatment centers and for child protective services and things.
Yeah, and if you would like more information, Community Alliance on Prisons can be reached at 533-3454.
Again, that number is?
533-3454.
Okay.
We're also on email, Community Alliance on Prisons @hotmail.com.
Hotmail.com. Well, we're going to go away from this very special hour of Tooth Talk. Thank you, Celeste, for coming in.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sally,
Thank you for
I guess,
inviting me.
And also Cap Rating.
Thanks, Doc.
Until next week, please remember that this visit with the dentist didn't hurt. I'm Dr. Masunaga. You're never fully dressed until you put on your smile. See you next week.
You've been listening to Tooth Talk, brought to you by Pacific Century Trust. Dr. Masunaga is a practicing dentist right here in Hawaii. Until next week, remember to brush and floss.